I think I'm recording. Let's see. I'm looking in a mirror right now to see if it's working. And it is working. Okay, sorry. I feel technologically slow right at the moment. Okay, anyway, it's been a while since I've done a video for y'all, and so I'm like, okay, time to do one. Just an update. Don't know have much time, but I'll try to do as best I can. Okay, these are not prescription. They're my reading glasses, and I was going to use them to read some stuff, but I just realized I don't have what I need, but whatever, I'll try to remember. Okay, so my son Liam is in first grade this year, and he where's the camera? I feel so stupid. Okay, anyway, he was going to this elementary school that's like a block away from her house, and I was real excited about it. He was, you know, pretty excited about it, a little, actually quite anxious. He wasn't sleeping at night. I mean, up several times a night, up super early in the morning, and just exhausted and having a horrible time every day. And it was going to a new school, being around new people. He didn't want to stop going to his old school where he thought he was going to be going, which was the plan until he had to move. So my poor little dude, you know, my little boo, I call him, he's been struggling. He's got some hyperactivity issues. He had an IEP that said that he was developmentally behind or disabled or whatever the word is or name. And so he was struggling academically and socially and in a lot of areas of his life. And so at school, he had these therapists that were helping him with everything. You know, he was behind in gross and fine motor skills. He was behind in talking, behind in everything pretty much. Academically, he ended up catching up to his peers on some areas, passing them. He's really smart, but he's very hyper. And believe it or not, he does not comprehend everything everybody says to him. Like, he looks like he is. He looks like he does. You know, and most of the time he does, but there are times when he just doesn't get it. Like, he doesn't understand what some things mean, and it's hard for him to put, you know, certain words and phrases and questions and things like that together. So anyway, he's at this new school for 2 weeks, and he's not sleeping, he's not eating well. He comes home every day and asks, how's your day? And he says, excellent, and it's the only thing he'll say. And the teachers weren't communicating with us. I loved his regular first grade teacher, the special ed teacher. She didn't really connect with us. She didn't communicate with us at all. And I said, please, if there's any problems, just let us know. You know, we're right here. We're open-minded and we want to help. And we never heard a peep. So we assumed things were going okay. And then his regular teacher said that he'd been, I guess, hitting other kids at school, throwing things, kicking, pushing, things like that during recess. And I wasn't super surprised, but I was surprised that they didn't really know how to handle it, I guess, because he's not that out of control, and all he needs is for like a connection or a little bit of individual attention, and it grounds him, and then he's okay. That's just all he needs, you know. And I'm not sure if that's what they were doing for him or not. I mean, like I said, they never told us what was going on, so we had no idea. We never even got a chance to even see how he was interacting with other kids like we'd wanted to. So basically, we hear about this, and then the very next week, this was like a Friday, I think, and the very next week, the principal calls us in the morning, says, come pick your son up. My husband goes and gets him, and the principal says, yeah, he just needs to go home for today. And we wanted him to go to school the next day, but my husband's like, you know, I'm just going to keep him home another day because it just felt weird. Something felt off. So he kept Liam home another day, and Liam was able to finally start relaxing a little bit. And he wasn't as anxious. He was sleeping a little bit better. He didn't seem so, like, restless about the idea of going. I mean, he loved school, except here. So he seemed confused. Like, he knew he loved school, but here he wasn't loving school, and I think he was confused about why. Like, you know, and he couldn't quite connect the dots what the difference was. And so, anyway, the following day, I think it was the third day, you know, the principal's like, no, the second day the principal said, I'd like to talk with you. And she said, do you have time? She said, no, I'm having an emergency meeting this afternoon with other people. Apparently the meeting was about us. So the next day we have a meeting with him, but he didn't come. He had someone sit in for him, which I thought was kind of rude, but he set it up. So he wasn't there. We didn't get a chance to even meet him. I've never even seen him. I have no idea what he even looks like, let alone his name or anything, or what his concerns were. We met his, my husband met for the first time his special ed teacher. I already had met her. And then his regular first grade teacher was there too, who's usually out there with him during recess. And then the school psychologist was there, which we, first of all, didn't even know he had been involved at all. Like, no one had said anything. And anyway, and so I'm like, okay, you know, they all seemed really anxious. The room was super tense. It was awkward. It was weird. And I'm like, are we supposed to be mad at you guys? Or is there going to be a fight or something? Like, what? Why does it feel so weird in here? Like, why don't we feel welcomed or, you know, or like they cared about us? We did not feel that. We felt like they were looking out for themselves and they were ready to have a fight with us. I mean, that's just what it felt like to both my husband and I. Without us even saying anything afterwards, we're both like, God, it felt like we're going into a war zone or something. Like, what are we missing here? Like, why is it feeling like this? And then the day before that, in the morning, some people from the school district and the school just showed up at the house. They didn't call or anything. They just showed up and said, here, sign this paper. My husband being trusting and me being trusting. I mean, we just came from an amazing school district where they look out for you, not just themselves. They look out for the kids, the parents. Alpine School District, hands down, amazing. It's the best school district we have ever dealt with or worked with. And I didn't realize how good it was until, you know, I compared them to some other ones that we've dealt with, including this one. And I know that this school district means well, but the way they do things is just odd. And it doesn't seem like the student and the parents are important. It seems like they're important and they're looking out for themselves while they're doing the job, but they don't want to look like they're looking out for themselves. But, you know, anyway, it's weird. Like, I don't know. It's hard to explain it super clearly. So anyway, my husband didn't tell me that these people had shown up, and he signed the paper, and the paper was something to do with okaying them doing an assessment, like an emergency assessment of Liam, which makes no sense. I mean, they wanted to do this assessment in just a couple of hours. Like 2 hours worth of time watching him and deciding what his problems are. And I'm like, that's not enough time, first of all. Second of all, why are you having us sign this the very last minute? Is it because maybe you already did an assessment illegally? Which, yes, it is illegal. Did you already do an assessment? And like, oops, we forgot to get a signature to okay this. So you run it over, have us sign it because we're trusting clueless parents, and now you're just covering your butts because you made a mistake and you don't want to get in trouble for it because what you did was illegal. So they run an assessment, they have us sign a paper saying they just did an emergency assessment. Then we have the meeting the next day and they changed his IEP from developmentally delayed to emotionally disturbed. Basically, we feel he has 0 developmentally delayed problems. We feel like he has 0 problems, period, that have to do with, you know, mental stuff. Like, I mean, not mental stuff, but like handicaps or disabilities or whatever the name is you call them, you know. And I was like, well, actually, we were in the middle of getting him diagnosed with ADHD, and then we moved here, and we'd like to finish that. And they're like, okay. And I also found out that if there is any chance that a kid has any kind of learning disability or ADHD or anything like that, it's their job to figure that out before they say, oh, this child's just emotionally disturbed and has mental problems and should be in a psych ward or something. Like, they're supposed to figure this out to help the child. Instead, it was like they were looking out for themselves. And they didn't care what Liam's needs were. They cared that they didn't want to deal with it. They just wanted to throw him away. And so they decided that he was emotionally disturbed and that he had no other problems. And I'm like, yes, we know academically he's up. Yes, he does comprehend a lot more. They're like, we believe that he comprehends everything going on around him. You can just tell those wheels are spinning and that he's just comprehending. And I'm like, you can't say that based on such short amount of time. Have you asked him enough questions? Have you actually tested him? Have you spent enough time with him? No, we're his parents. We have. What about his teachers? What about the district that he just came from, that they have spent years with him? Years. Since he was like 2. They knew what they were talking about. Are you calling them all idiots and morons and that suddenly you know what his problem is in 2 weeks? 2 weeks that you were assessing him illegally without our consent. That's illegal. So come to find out, they'd been assessing him the whole time. I mean, the psychologist accidentally said, I've been watching him for a while, and we didn't know it was illegal at the time, so when he said this, we just were like, oh, okay. You know, trusting dumb parents that we are, naive and whatever, and thinking, okay, that's great, you're looking out for him. No, you're not looking out for him. You're just trying to find something to pin on him to get him out of here. So the thing is, the teacher, his special needs teacher, she'd had her feet broken in surgery. I mean, she had problems with them, had them broken and then surgically fixed. And she's back in school with a scooter. She can't walk. She can't run. She can't do anything with special needs children. I'm sorry, but if you can't keep up with the kids, you shouldn't be in the classroom. Maybe if you're in a regular classroom with kids with regular needs and you have a ton of aides to help you, sure. But this is a special needs classroom. These kids have different special needs. He has special needs. And you just didn't want to deal with it. You just didn't want to deal with it. He was having temper tantrums, I guess, meltdowns. You know, he was pushing the boundaries, testing the rules, which a lot of kids do, especially with kids with special needs like he has. And so if the teacher said no or whatever it is that she did, he kicked her. He kicked her in her hurt foot. And she said, that's it. I've had it. Send him to the principal's office. That was in the morning. She didn't give him a chance. She didn't give him a chance. She gave him 2 weeks. It's like she timed on her watch. In 2 weeks, you have 2 weeks to show me who you are, and I'm going to decide I don't like you. I'm not going to give you a chance. I'm not going to get you, talk to your parents or communicate at all with them to see if they're okay with this. I'm not going to see if they're okay with us having you assessed by a psychologist. I'm just going to do it all behind their backs, and then I'm just going to throw you to the wolves and say, too bad. And so anyway, we're going along with this. We signed the paperwork accepting the IEP because they convinced us it was the only thing that would cover his needs to get the help he needed. There was nothing else that would work for him. But we didn't realize that the class they were sending him to were for other emotionally disturbed, basically out of control children, like antisocial personality disorders and schizophrenic and bipolar, depression, anxiety kids. And he has never fit any of that stuff, ever. He's a happy-go-lucky kid who has a good attitude. He's a lot of fun, has a lot of life in him. And the only time he feeds out of the meltdowns are 1, he's starving, 2, he's tired, 3, he's not used to his surroundings, he has to adjust. That's it. The rest of it, he's really good about everything if he's got his basic needs met and he's accustomed to the routine and the schedule and the people around him. He does have a very difficult time with change. And that's normal for, you know, where he's at and who he is. And it doesn't mean he's emotionally disturbed. So we go and check out this new school they want to send him to. It's an hour bus ride there and an hour bus ride back home. So he'd be leaving about 7:30 every morning. Freaking early for a 6-year-old to be getting on a bus when we live in a town with schools all around us. We don't live out in the boonies. And then an hour on the way back home. So we wouldn't get home till 4:30, 5 o'clock at night. And so he'd be gone like all day. Time for dinner and then bed. Sorry, kid. Nice to know you for a couple hours. Go to bed. So recording, yes. Okay, it's really long. Anyway, so then we go and check out this place. The teacher is covered in sweat. She looks miserable. She looks like she hates her job. And it's only 2 weeks into the school year. I'm like, this is how you're acting and school just started? And they had a padded room. It had a teeny window in the door. And they had a lock on the outside. Just leave them in there. She said there's no windows except the little one in the door. And the light switch was on the outside, not on the inside. And she said, we put them in there until we can handle them or until they calm down. And basically, legally, you're only supposed to put them in there for a few minutes, tops. Not until you feel like you can handle them or until they calm down. That is not how it works. And then also, it's supposed to be a lock that you have to hold. It's not supposed to be one that you can lock and walk away from and just lock them in there and leave them, which is what it is. You lock the door and they're stuck in there. If there's an emergency, they can't get out. And there's no other way to get out. They're stuck. There's no windows outside, nothing. It's just a padded room and that's it. So I'm like, I was appalled. I'm sorry, appalled. I'm like, my son does not need something like this. He is not out of control crazy. He's not going to beat you up or kill you. My gosh. He's not like he's a teddy bear. He loves hugs and kisses and cuddling. And he can get a little forceful with kids around him. But there's other kids that are like that. And they're not crazy psychopaths, you know. They're just acting like kids, having a temper tantrum. I know that kids can get worse and worse and worse, but that's if their environment is egging on this bad behavior. And he is not in an environment like that. If he was to go to that class around kids who are like that, with no, you know, average kids in there for him to model after, and where the teacher seems frazzled, has one aide instead of two like they're legally supposed to have. I'm sorry, that's just setting him up for failure. That's like, here, go and fail some more. We don't believe in you. We felt sick when we went in there in that dark classroom, nothing on the walls except a couple of ripped things. The feeling was gloom and doom. It was depressing. It was horrible. It made me sick. I knew it was wrong. It was not the place for him. So Tyler and I, after a weekend of praying, we already knew the answer, but we wanted to be sure. We prayed and felt that God answered our prayers and said, no, do not send him there. So we pulled him out like that. As fast as we could, he's out. I don't even know what to do now because this district doesn't want him. And so I'm like, okay, I'll homeschool him. Thank heavens I was homeschooled. Thank heavens my mom knows what she's doing. Thank heavens a lot of my family's homeschooling and friends. I have a huge support system there. Anyway, there's the update on what's going on with Liam. For now, we're just trying to figure things out. I'm pissed off at this district, and we're going to be getting to the bottom of this. I'm going to be figuring out all of the stuff that they do illegally, and I'm not just going to let them walk away with it, because if they're doing this to my kid, they're doing it to other kids, guaranteed. Peace out.